right, we'll give Mark just a minute to sign on. Actually, we can go ahead. If your commissioners, are you ready to go?
Yep.
All right, Lisa, you're up.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
So I just have a small piece of business this morning. It's the annual request to cancel outstanding warrants. So we do this annually. We go back and we look at the prior 12 months to see what's outstanding. The RCW requires that we cancel those after a year, and that's done by board resolution. So you'll see a list attached. We've done all our due diligence. We're ready to go ahead and cancel these. There would be $19,758 going back to the appropriate funds, and then $53.58 in payroll going back to its original funds.
Well, looks good to me, commissioners.
All good with me. Thanks, Lisa.
Good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. All right. We're at the sheriff's office. Chief Hanson, are you on?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
Yep, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So, this is, you guys had asked that I provide a update on the outsourcing project. So this is our, I guess my first update on where we're at with outsourcing. So, and hiring and, recruitment. So with that being said, so far we started outsourcing on October 11th, and this is sending inmates to quality and housing the inmates there. We've outsourced 213 days total. We have 17 inmates that have been out there. A couple of them have come and gone back and forth for court, and it looks like we've spent $27,690 so far. Let's see. So staffing would be the next one. So our current staffing levels are still the same. We have 18 plus. Well, I shouldn't say they're the same because we actually hired somebody. We hired somebody that started on the 17th, and we are scheduled to hire another corrections deputy starting the 26th. We have 3 full-time staff out on FMLA. We have 1 staff that's testing to go to the road in another agency, and it looks like we may have another one going to test on the road to go somewhere else too. We have 4 people in background. One of those is this community service officer for the control room. So that's good news. And I'm trying to read my notes here. All right, so as far as recruitment, and I want you guys to just have a recap of all the things the sheriff's office has done in the last 3 years as far as trying to get people to apply for these jobs. So we'll start with litter truck. So about 3 years ago, we bought some magnetic signs that we put on the back of the litter trailer, and that litter trailer goes out all over the county every day. We put a banner in front of the jail. We've gone to public safety testing events to encourage people to test with us. We've offered free online testing. I appointed a full-time staff member as a recruitment officer that lasted for about 9 months. That was about 2 years ago when I did that. And then, of course, unfortunately, I had to bring that back into the fold because we had more vacancies and I couldn't afford to have another full-time corrections deputy out there doing nothing but recruitment. You guys have approved a hiring bonus. We've attended multiple job fairs, like at Fort Lewis and pretty much all over Western Washington. We put up reader board signs. We had that electronic reader board that we had sitting out by the state for a while, out by the DOC. And that sparked some interest. We had that electronic reader board up north in the Belfair area for a while. And we had it out by the theater coming in on 101 out there for quite a while too. We have recently bought yard signs. that was a brainchild that we had over here, and that HR agreed to fund it or offered to fund it for us. So that was very nice of HR, and I really appreciate their help with that. We've got 23 of those signs that have been placed up north in the Belfair area, and there's about over 100 signs that have been placed here in South County. So, and my litter crew guy has been out placing those signs, and he is in uniform, and he's been out actively finding places to put those. We've made brochures that we're passing out to our events, and we've also been going through the public safety website, searching for people who have expressed an interest in our job, and then reaching out directly to them to get them to apply. So we have spent a considerable amount of time and energy trying to get people to apply for these corrections deputy jobs. And I just want to make sure that you guys knew that, because you have graciously offered to help us with our staffing plight by getting rid of some of these inmates. So our average daily population, since we've been outsourcing, we've managed to maintain about 20 people here in the jail. And as I said, there's been about 17 that we've had out of Nisqually. So, and then that doesn't include people on home monitoring. I think we got 6 people on home monitoring right now. And then I think we have like 10 or something that have booked for the alternative DUI sentencing program, so, which is non-custody. So anyhow, any questions on that?
Commissioners, any questions?
Yes, but it may be for somebody that's not on. Let me see here. I'm trying to find out what we've done, if we've done anything to go after hiring a headhunter to fill those positions.
I have not done anything. I don't know much about that other than what you've said, that you had somebody in mind, or that you guys were going to hire somebody, or I don't. That's all I know about that.
I can help the chief research and costing for Profman or another group that's out there doing this type of work. And then we can bring back some quotes, bids from these vendors, if that's what the commissioners would like.
Well, I believe a couple of weeks back, that's what the commissioners had said, and I'd like to see us, unless commissioners have changed their mind or gone a different direction, we should be on this a month ago or so. So I'd like to see us do it tomorrow and get somebody on the line to try and see if we can't get some hiring done here. And I thought we had talked about it coming out of this year's budget of funds if we have it or we need it, not necessarily the sheriff's department, but we need it done ASAP. That's what I understood in our past conversations.
Well, I know everybody's having it's not a popular job for people to want to work at, and so if we had the Taj Mahal jail, it might be easier to recruit people, but no jail is fun. And so I don't know. I think I would like to see Chief Hanson and Mary talk about. I'd like to see the costs too, to see how much it would cost if maybe reaching out to other counties to see how they're recruiting. I think Kitsap they're at full, I think.
Kitsap has a recruiter.
Sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
Kitsap has a recruiter.
So I called the HR director, and they have like a sheriff's office recruiter, but they don't have anyone for the jail that she was aware of. However, they have they have a hiring bonus as well. And they're using NeoGov, which they've actually been able to reach international candidates using NeoGov. And she said that the other thing is they had recruited from King County and had kind of an in at King County. They brought a few people with them because, it's a better working environment in Kitsap, in their opinion. And they had really spent time on candidate interaction. So when they put in the application, the calling, and I know that Kelly Dunlap's been really great about that over in the jail, making that human connection, having them come to a ride along, having them come see the facility. It's time consuming, but I do believe there's a payoff there that doesn't really have a significant, cost other than our time. HR doesn't have the capacity to be doing that, especially since we handle Board of Equalization, and this was quite the busy year for that one. So I appreciate Kelly stepping up and doing that, but again, it's not, I mean, it's not sustainable, I don't think, for a long-term gig. I mean, it takes time. I do think candidate interaction is really important, though. You know, we have to go out and do a sales pitch and show them, right? We can put all we want on paper, but we have to, you know, if we show it to them, I think that speaks louder than words.
And that's why Headhunter is so important. If we continue to do the same thing, we can't expect a different outcome. We need to do something different than what we've been doing. And we're at a point now at critical mass where we've been at before, that if we don't expend the funds to do it, we'll expend the funds in another way, which I would rather not do.
So we can definitely do some research and bring that back. My concern would be that, for example, some of the more popular headhunters, it's literally postings, mailers, things that we've already done. So I'd want to find a vendor that would be more innovative and creative around candidate interaction. I think that would be really important. And we can kind of go through what that would look like with the vendors.
I'd like to see one that's been successful. I don't care if they use the same tools as we do, if they do the same tools better. So I'd like us to find somebody that's successful at headhunting for jail recruitment.
All right, commissioners, anything else? All right, Chief Hanson, thank you for the information.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, commissioners.
All right, thank you. All right, let's move on to community development. Kell.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so the first thing is House Bill 1181. It requires the county and counties planning under the Growth Management Act to add a climate element to the comprehensive plan. And we are receiving non-competitive grant funds in order to accomplish this. And so in order to apply for the grant, we do need a letter of support from the commissioners. We are going to end up revising our scope of work with the consultants that we have on board, a CJ Alliance that Marissa is working with for the comprehensive plan update, and we'll add this scope into it. We do not think it will take the full amount of dollars available to us. And so we are meeting. I know I've got a meeting with Mark and others at the EOC to look at other opportunities to utilize the money. It has a broad scope that we can use it for in addition to the comp plan element. So there might be some things in our hazard mitigation plan that we could do some follow-up work. And so we'll look into that. And it is indicating a 2-year program, but I understand from the state that we have 9 years to utilize this, and it comes from a separate fund at the state than our other growth management monies that we got for the comp plan update, which is why we have a little more flexibility of time on using that. So, and I am asking to put it on the action agenda for tomorrow for the chair to sign the letter and send off to the state.
So the letter looks like it has all 3 of us on there.
Oh, yes, it does. You're right. So for the 3 commissioners to sign the letter.
Yeah, commissioners, any questions or comments?
None for me.
None for me.
All right, I appreciate the wording in there, and I know that this is a requirement by the state. So we do have to, there are certain things that the state tells us that we must do, and this is one of those things.
Yeah, there were, excuse me, sorry to interrupt, but there were 11 counties that are required to do the climate element, as well as, I can't remember exactly, but had to do with greenhouse gas emissions. And we do not have to do that separate piece. And so this is just the resiliency planning.
Great. I appreciate you clarifying that as well. Steve, you've got a question?
Yeah, hey, Kell, good morning. So
Hi.
I'm often quick to point out that the whole climate change narrative is a political narrative not founded in classical science. And so I get that House Bill 1811 requires us to have this provision in our plan, but how realistically do we expect to be spending that money?
Marissa is working with SCJ on scoping that, and we do not think it won't be the amount that we've been awarded, which is why I'm meeting with Mark and others tomorrow to talk about other opportunities and carry on perhaps from the hazard mitigation plan.
Okay, because I just am concerned that we're gonna buy into things or play into things that ultimately drive us to raise taxes or pay higher taxes and take away individual freedom. And I don't think that's the way we should be responding with our citizens in mind. So thank you for hearing me out.
We'll let you know if we have to move any ballot boxes out of floodplains, Steve.
If we have to what?
Move any ballot boxes out of floodplains, we'll let you know.
I hope there's not any in floodplain now.
Oh, the city of Shelton is largely under the floodplain. So I know, like in building 3, our IT department has had to deal, I think TJ told me he had 3 different floods that he's had to deal with in our computer servers over there. And so he would like to get our servers out of building 3 and into building 10.
That makes sense.
So things like that, just, resilient for the county to deal with just ongoing weather issues that are impact county government.
Right. I think
Weather's one thing.
I think it's important that people remember that it's not,
Right.
the climate is changing, but because we have seasons. And so we get snow, we get lots of heavy rains, we have king tides, we have all sorts of stuff that we have to plan for. So when you look at something like this, it's not a global climate change that we're looking at or anything like that. We're looking at Mason County and trying to make sure that Mason County is that we're meeting the requirements here in Mason County to protect our citizens.
So Commissioner Trask, I fully understand the need to have contingency plays for responding to natural disasters. I just really think we're getting into troubled water. No pun, and I guess it is a pun intended. When we do things to promote and promulgate something that's not based in classical science.
Commissioner Trask, usually we do not do testimony and such on briefings. And I feel like this is becoming a situation that we're only allowing certain people to testify. So I'm not sure that that's a proper venue for this, just my opinion as a commissioner.
All right, appreciate that. All right, Kell, what do you have next for us?
The next thing I have is...
Oh, wait, are we okay with putting this on the agenda for tomorrow?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Sorry, Kell.
No problem. Building official. So we have an appointed building official, but this is to put to create a building official in the management position. So in the non-salary, a free one, the non represented salary scale. There you go. And so I would like to get approval for HR to move forward with a resolution adding building official to a range 38. And then I can post and fill that position. And my goal for 2024 is to be able to do staff evaluations. So I have no managers for the last several years and would like to start with building official manager to assist me in that task, as well as other things that they're going to get to do.
So just to add, this position was written, comped. That's where the range 38 came from. Our consultant comped it for us. And then after this, if there's funding and permission from the commissioners, then we'll need to approach the union and have a conversation with them about a building official. I haven't heard back from them yet, and I believe the 30 days passed, but we should be past those hurdles and this should be good to go. And I would highly recommend an additional management position in Department of Community Development.
All right, great. Appreciate your input on this and appreciate that you reviewed this. And I appreciate that Kell took it to have it reviewed. Commissioners, any questions or discussion? Comments?
This is something that Kell had talked about and briefed on for almost 2 years, I think. And at one point I thought we were ready to go before, but in order to have continuity and solidarity within her department, she chose to hold off for a while. If she's here before me today saying that this is the best action and that today's the day and now's the time, I'm ready for that action.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this is how the process should work. Definitely Kell, I think, was very deliberative about this, and I think building management capacity is a good thing to help support our line level folks. So I'm supportive of moving this forward.
All right, you got 3 for 3.
Thank you.
Also important to note, enterprise fund. So this is not necessarily a drag on the general fund. So also important to keep that context in mind as well as we go through budget.
Right. Appreciate that clarification as well.
So to clarify the process, this would be an updated resolution that I will need to bring forward. And so I can do that at not tomorrow, but at our next action agenda.
Perfect. Thank you. So that would be November 7th.
Right. So as long as the position's approved, that's all I need to post. And then it's basically just updating the schedule to show it. That's all.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Back to you, Kell.
All right, I appreciate the support. And I'm going to turn it over to Marissa.
Good morning, commissioners. I have a rezone in the Allen UGA. And this is, the 2 parcels are up on a bluff in village commercial zoning, and the applicant is requesting to rezone to multifamily medium density. The last proposal that I heard from the representative is that single family residential was the desired development there. But the 2 subject parcels are up on the bluff as you come into Allen, going south up there on the right. So they don't have direct access right to State Route 3. And then the 3 parcels below it, they're also village commercial, but they are developed with single family residential as well. And those residences have been there for quite a long time, like 40s, 50s. But the applicants are requesting to rezone, and I was hoping to get this on tomorrow's agenda so we could set a hearing. And if you have any questions.
Marissa, I myself, when I'm looking at these in the future, I'd like to see more of a distance so I can see all the surrounding properties instead of a close-up on this one. On these particular parcels there, the commission saw it in their decisions on how to handle the future. They did away with a lot of the village commercial and changed it. With that, we lost the ability to have commercial expansion. I don't know on this particular parcels if it's one of the few left that could allow for commercial expansion or not. You said it was up on the bluff and has no access. Are you sure it has no access?
It's so the access, so that Drum Street, that's really a weird kind of, when you're coming south on 3 there, and the entrance is very sharp there, turn up there.
Yes.
So that little narrow road, and then it turns into dirt, and it kind of weaves in between the existing residences up there. So it's not really an established street. And then that particular parcel is past those residents. And there's a dirt road that's just covered with rock that has been established for all those, I think it's Cedarland development up there.
Yes.
But other than that, there's nothing paved up there. So very awkward access and nothing direct to SR3 except that little drum street that kind of weaves into the existing residence.
And it's too high to get any possible access in the future?
I would think it would be pretty difficult because it's pretty much a drop off, right, at least where those several residences are, where the subject parcels are and the three below them. But that's more, I guess that would be more of a public works question, but right in that particular area, I don't see how you could, you wouldn't be able to plow a road in right there. So
Well, I appreciate, your wisdom on it too. It doesn't have to be public works. You've been around enough to where if you don't feel like it's a safe access, then I accept.
And that current access that's right there. You have to turn really wide to get up there when you're going south. So I wouldn't say that's the safest access as it is right now. So.
All right, so are we in agreement to put this on the agenda for tomorrow so that the hearing can be set?
Yeah, I'm comfortable having the hearing.
As am I, Commissioner Netherland. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Didn't see you nod. I was reading.
Okay.
All right. Good to go.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Marissa. All right, Commissioners, do we have anything for Kell?
Me.
All right. Let's move on to public health.
Let's try with the sound on. Good morning, Commissioners. So we got two things today. What I sent last week was our quarterly financial report, just in graphic form. So give you a chance to look at kind of where we're standing with our public health financials. We're in good shape. We've got the FPHS funding certainly has changed how we do some of our work, and programmatically as well as just funding. Yeah, so if you have any questions on financials.
Any questions, Commissioners?
Up for me.
All right, Dave, you're free to move on.
Okay, Melissa.
Good morning, Commissioners. The one item I have is a continuation of our conversation on the last briefing regarding the status update of Community Lifeline's probation status, as well as some ongoing non-compliance with the scope of work in their contract by not operating a 35-bed night-by-night emergency shelter. So as the board requested, I've attached a proposed amendment to the contract. The corrective actions progressive. So the next step is to pursue a reduction in funding. So this particular proposed amendment would reduce funding. The written standards allow us to go up to 20%. So we've gone up to 20%, which would be about $40,000 over the remaining balance in their contract. And so that is the funding recommendation. I think it's important to also note that there would be an opportunity for these funds to be reallocated. So there is an action plan that's built into the proposal, as long as Community Lifeline can submit their policies and procedures that align with the contract, the scope of work, operating the beds, as well as submitting a plan for the inclement weather. That would put them in compliance with the scope of work. Happy to take any feedback or comments to adjust this amendment. And if the board approves it with edits or as is, we would want to move it to the November 7th action agenda, and that would give Community Lifeline about a month to follow up on the action plan.
I'm supportive of this. I think it's unfortunate that Community Lifeline has put us in this position. But if there's repeated non-compliance, we have to take that seriously. And so I appreciate you putting the work into this, and we'll move it forward and hopefully be able to reallocate that money to somebody who's a little bit more interested in complying with the requirements, or perhaps getting a revised plan from Community Lifeline about their plans to comply.
Yeah, I would agree. I support this, and this is not an easy thing to do for sure. But we have to be responsible fiscally to our constituents, and those that sign the contracts have to understand that they are obligated to follow through as well.
No matter how much I respect, and appreciate board members and stuff like that do it, if it was my own mother, I'd have to treat it exactly the same. If you enter into a contract with the county, you have to follow what the contract says. If not, then the county itself gets in trouble, and it is our fault when the state auditor tells us that we're not following and the rules that are set out by the state and how we're supposed to handle our money and to follow through with the contracts that we enter into. You've done a great amount of work. I'm sorry that this has come to this, but I trust your efforts and believe that your recommendations are based on doing the best that you can do with what you have. If it changes, hopefully we find a way to fix some of this, but if not, it's a choice of all those who are involved. So Melissa, thank you for your extra work and effort on this, and I will be supportive of your decisions that you've come up with.
Thank you, Commissioner Netherland. Any other comments or questions?
No, thank you you don't have an easy job, and decisions are hard. I know so I appreciate all the work that you're doing.
Great. Okay, thank you, commissioners. That is all I have today.
Thank you.
So that's all we have for public health, unless there's questions.
Commissioners, anything for Dave?
Dave, I sent you some more information on one of these places. Somehow we need to get together and start to knock a few of these down if we can.
Yeah. And I had a couple conversations over the weekend with, I think, about one of these particular ones too. So
okay, well, I'm supportive of finding ways to close out some of these things. The same thing is, we just had a discussion with Melissa. She did the best she could for as long as she could, and then action had to occur.
Yeah.
I know that you and your staff have done the best you can as long as you can, but now perhaps action needs to occur.
Yeah. Yeah. So absolutely. I do have, actually, now that I think about it, I have one other thing. In addition to what we're talking about this code enforcement, we did work with the tribe this last week. Spent a lot of time with Mott McDonald, our contractor, and with Erica with the tribe, and we are down to the last piece of the MOA. We should have this thing wrapped up and ready for leadership to look at and meet with the tribe, and I think we can get this thing put away. And then that's all I have.
Great timing as we start our next comprehensive planning process.
Yeah, yeah. Only took from one to the next.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for your work on that. And I appreciate you sitting in my office for an hour and 40 minutes on Friday too.
You're welcome.
All right. Nothing else for Dave?
Not for me.
All right. You're up, Mark.
I thought we had Public Works.
Oh, we do.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry about that, Loretta.
No worries. We'll get to Mark quickly enough. Ours is fairly short this morning. I do believe. So our first item, commissioners, is we have a tip cap applicant, which is exciting. And we are asking for approval, recommending appointment for William Harris to tip cap. And commissioners, I apologize if process wise, I don't know if you are wanting to do interviews or not. But if you are, then we won't ask for action right away if you'd like us to set up an interview time.
Loretta, have you spoken to William?
Yes. Yes, he had contacted the department about some questions regarding transportation, both on the maintenance side and on our tip. And Amy, after speaking with him for some time, also said, you might be interested. And so I did speak with Bill also. And it turns out that he and I are St. Martin graduates together. So engineering background, lives in, I believe, Lakeland Village, and is recently retired, and definitely looking to lend his expertise and be able to volunteer for the community.
I'd be fine interviewing Mr. Harris, but Loretta, have you given him an application to work as an engineer for the county?
Right, exactly, that too.
It's one thing to recruit somebody for tip cap, but maybe he wants to dust off the old PE.
Right, I know. I was thinking the same. How much would he like to contribute to the community? Yes.
Commissioner Netherland, you're muted.
I don't want to bring up old stuff, but at the same time, are we okay with having a person from that same location? The commission had an issue with the number that was there before. And I just want to, I was called out for it before, and I don't want to be called out for that again. If it's a choice that the commission is making, I got no problem with it.
Do we currently have a representative for this area that would meet the requirements associated with our tip cap membership?
Well, you can, let's see, let me pop open the share screen here on your, so you can take a look at the positions that we have filled and are available. Let's see. Share. All right. So we have, this would, as Commissioner Netherland pointed out, this would have all of our District 1 representation filled, and we are still looking for some representation in Commissioner District 3. And we have a couple of vacancies in Commissioner District 2 as well.
So this would not put one over the top?
I'm not sure I understand. We would have 3 folks filling the 3 positions from Commissioner District 1. And then we have 2 of the District 3 positions filled and 1 of the District 1 positions filled.
So we need to work on District 2 and 3.
Yes.
But the one, so there is an open position in District 1.
That is correct. Yes.
And I have no issue with moving it to interviews.
That'll work for me as well.
Okay. We will work with McKinsey and get that scheduled. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
All right. And then next up, we have a request to vacate Four Corners Road, and Mike wanted to touch base with you a little bit, commissioners, on this particular item. And I'll pull up a little map here to give you an idea of where in the universe we're talking about here as well. And Mike, would you like to give us a quick overview?
Yes, Four Corners Road is a gravel road that is maintained by the county. It's on our records. It goes between Eels Hill and California Road. It's about 3.27 miles long. It does not have any residents on it. It travels through private timberlands. What has happened, we got a preliminary request from the adjacent property owners concerning solid waste. There's boats, there's all kinds of stuff out there. And so they went ahead and started the process of vacation. But as we've been discussing here staff wise and stuff, that 3.27 miles is a lot of ground to give up, whether you need it right now or not. So we're thinking about initiating something back, a proposal back to them, maybe have the road gated, because it's not really a used road as far say as occasionally. And we haven't done any much maintenance on it in a long time either. But if we gated it and still allowed it for pedestrians and bicycles, and maybe in the future, if it ever needed to be upgraded, we would still have that corridor to do such. So that's what we're just kind of talking about. What we would have to do is we'd have to go to CRAB and get it taken off of our list, because we do get a little bit of funds for gravel road, not much, through the gas tax, but it still may be, I mean, that might be the best option. There is a lot of solid waste out there, don't get me wrong. I do agree with them that that's an issue, but it kind of begets itself. So we just kind of want to see what the board kind of in general felt about that.
So mine is simple. It's the same that it's always been. There is a specific question that you're required to ask yourself before bringing something to vacation. I've never been a fan of how we've done it in the past, because I think the answer should have been the same as I think it is right now. If there is a potential that we have potential future use, we are supposed to hold on to it, because trying to get it later makes no sense. So if you're telling me, which it sounds like you're saying, that you see a potential future value for the county in maintaining it and having it, then we should not be vacating.
So I think that's what Mike's saying. I think he wants to gate it. And so I think if that's the path, I'm supportive of the petitioning CRAB for that. I think that makes a lot of sense. This is a longer road. Are they using it? Or I mean, it's all timber out there. I mean, are they using it? Are they logging out there and using this road? Or
They haven't logged in quite some time, but in the future it will happen. You know, they'll end up have to do some. We'll have to do some maintenance on it to allow that, because there's some large crater holes and such along there. So yeah, it will be logged eventually, and that's just it. What happens to the property eventually does, you know, they want to get out of the logging business, and it becomes a developable area. So that was our concern.
Yeah, I'm good with your proposal to gate it.
Yep. As am I.
Great, thank you, commissioners. We will follow up with CRAB and follow up with the property owners.
Sounds good.
And that is all we had on our briefings, commissioners, this morning.
Great. And commissioners, anything for Loretta and team?
Yeah, I had two quick questions for Loretta, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
So first, just I guess two update questions. One on the solid waste contract negotiations, just to see if we're still tracking for our hearing in November on that. And then the other is about our utility rate discussion and when we might be revisiting that.
Yep. Yeah, so we are meeting with TDJ and Stephanie Berman, our new finance manager, shortly. And rates will be part of that discussion and laying out a schedule, making sure that we're having a good handoff and understanding between Steph and TDJ, and putting together our agenda and our narrative to go out with our communities and talk further about rates. And in terms of the solid waste contract, we've slipped a bit on that schedule, and I will get an update to you commissioners on that.
Loretta,
But
when you
yes.
say you slipped a bit on that schedule, are you talking about on our end, their end?
On our end.
Okay.
Yeah. It is on me. So we owe them basically our legal portion of the narrative. We've got our scope, but need to do all of the legal terms. And I need to set up some time with Tim to review that.
Okay, yeah, if you could just keep us posted on that, I think that.
Absolutely. And then commissioners, we also received a letter from Republic Services, and if you would like, I would prepare a draft response for commissioners' consideration.
Yeah, I would support that. When would you have the draft ready?
I believe I could have a draft ready for your review next week, commissioners.
You kind of cut out initially. What's the draft for? I missed it.
In response to a letter commissioners received from Republic Services.
When did we receive a letter from them? Jog my memory.
I believe last Monday.
Yeah, I got a email while I was gone.
It was last week.
Can you resend that to me? I don't think I saw that.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, if you don't mind, give time before doing a response for Commissioner Schutte to look at this. It's an important thing that needs some consideration on his part. So please give a little extra time on that and touch base with him.
Okay. All right.
All right, anything else for Loretta,
Oh,
commissioners?
just thanks for sending that over, Mark. I'll just point out that I wasn't copied on the letter.
You were not.
So this is the first I'm seeing it.
That's a mistake, a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I apologize. I assumed that all commissioners were on that, and
Yes.
I need to look closer.
Likewise, me as well. I'm sorry, Commissioner Schutte.
Oh, that's all right. I'm okay being left out, especially of things like this.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's no fun. I'm gonna have to comb back through and see what other goodies might be left out.
Yeah.
You triggered an avalanche, maybe.
Plausible deniability is the
All right. Anything else, commissioners?
not for me.
Nope.
All right. Tomorrow we'll be down in person during the commission meeting and introduce Stephanie. And we'll do it quickly. I know you have a hearing, so.
Actually, you know how I love to call them on the carpet and have them actually come up and explain themselves. Put them in the, for the first day, and then it's real easy to do it after that.
We're ready. Stephanie's ready.
I look forward to meeting her.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mark, now it's you.
All righty. So, Mr. Taylor, you want to talk about our Sandhill Park equipment?
Yes, good morning, Commissioner. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, good. Thank you. I wanted to make sure technology is a wonderful thing when I get it to work right. So on July 24th, we briefed the commission on the projected playground equipment to go in at Sand Hill. And we asked for the process to be in place to call for bids and to use a specific piece of equipment, which you folks approved. At the completion of that process, we received one bid from a vendor that actually provided a different piece of equipment, which after analysis we found to be just as safe and compatible as the specific piece of equipment we requested. However, the difference was in price, and the difference in the price was due to the fact that we were going to do some of the ground prep for the piece of equipment, but finding that the age groups and the requirements for doing that ground prep and to put in something like wood chips that was a lower cost would cause some issues based on one, the safety of the users of the equipment, which may fall. The ground needs to be prepped in a specific way to ensure that the pads or the safety covering goes down appropriately. And we found that because of the age group that would probably be using it, most of them would be younger ages because others are playing ball, that it would require a better pad to go underneath that piece of equipment. The lower rates that we were looking at was chips, pea gravel, and sand. The challenge that we have is that type of ground cover can move based on weather conditions and affect play in other pieces of the field, especially wood chips that can be blown around and affect the way we play. It is additionally costly to clean up and to replace as those wood chips and pieces of other material move around. So we were recommending the bid from the provider or the vendor that provided the bid for. The ground cover is recommended by multiple organizations, which I put those links for that type of ground cover on your briefing so that you could review those. It is costly, but it is one of the safest. And that's full turnkey installation for that piece of equipment. Is there anything else I need to cover?
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Not for me.
Where's the exact location we're putting this in the ground cover?
So it's on the bottom portion of the playground between the first field and the next field on the school side. So it's where the hill comes down and goes in. So it's the safest place and the most open that we can put it.
Is that going to interfere with handicap parking and access?
It is not. Okay. And it gives us access that in the future, if we wanted to build, for an example, the additional field, it doesn't impact any of that.
Thank you.
So total price is $137,177?
Yes, ma'am.
And that covers everything.
Everything, turnkey.
Well, it looks like it's fun. Just looking at the picture, that looks like
man, that's where we were looking at, something that we could have younger people play in and kind of versatile while at the same time kind of divided by age group. So older kids would be in one portion of the playground equipment while younger would be playing in the other, but they could interact and still be in a confined area.
Reminds me that the Little Tykes playground or play equipment. Just, it looks like fun.
Oh, absolutely. It's gone a long ways from just a slide and a swing.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I ask that you consider putting some type of seating for parents that do not want to just send their kids over because it's far away from where they may be sitting. It might be nice to have little tiny sitting area or benches, or maybe a bench and a small table, but a few of them around there would be probably a smart move, especially with little kids.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. Good point. We'll look at that as an add-on project and that's probably something we can do ourselves.
Mhm.
Yep, great idea.
John, is there
Any
a
other
weight
questions?
limit? Is there a weight limit on this? I kind of feel like I'm.
I did not see one.
Oh, perfect.
And that was one of the things we looked at. Of course, when I went through it, a lot of them don't have weight limits on them. So I think that's a good question. I'll go back and get clarification for, just to make sure. But we didn't add it to our parameters, nor did the vendor provide it. So that's a good question. I'll go back and ask her and make sure I brief that.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Mary,
Thank you, ma'am.
you want to give an update on our personnel policy?
Yes. Good morning. So Human Resources is bringing forward a couple new and updated sections of the personnel policy. I'm not super happy about the fact that we need to kind of talk through a few of these things, but I do think that they're necessary as we move forward with employee investigations and a couple other items. So, however, the first one, section 3.8, new positions, this is something that we had talked about as part of the budget process and kind of nailing down what the process should look like for new FTEs, or if at any point in time operations necessitates a new FTE in the departments. And so essentially it would be a process with budget, because I think there's a couple different things that need to happen. And so it would come through for to the commissioners, because obviously electeds can ask for what they want to ask for, but then there would kind of be some follow-up with budget and HR to get a really good comprehensive costing out of what's going on, making sure that we are doing our due diligence around comping and internal equity and those types of things. And then we can submit recommendations around position description, knowledge, skills, and abilities, and what the comp would look like. And so that's the first section that we wanted to bring forward, and hopefully that would help us smooth out our budget process next year a little bit. Section 8.15, performance evaluations. The personnel policy does not provide for performance evaluations for non-rep staff, whereas all of our contracts do. So it seems the right thing to do to create some internal equity around performance evaluations. And I cannot stress enough how important those are as part of our performance management cycle and system as a county. Chapter 10 for the complaint procedure. Currently, there's no language around protecting employees from retaliation if they make a complaint. There is protection around, equal employment opportunity and whistleblower, but not overall complaints as they come into the county. And then also ensuring that there's confidentiality protection during the investigations. I think that this is something we actually need to spell out in policy so that we have some enforcement and can hold people accountable for breaks in confidentiality, and protect employees from retaliation if they're participating in an investigation. They have that right to make a complaint and investigation to go underway. For chapter 12, we wanted to add in some bullying language. This is one I'm really not happy about, but I think that, again, we need to be doing what we can do to protect employees, and bullying is something that our kids are not only dealing with, but it also occurs in the workplace, unfortunately, and so providing protections around that. And then for chapter 18, telework, adding in that it's for Washington only without prior approval, and then defining the application and renewal process. I think a lot of these telework applications are submitted and then either they're not submitted and it's being allowed, or they're submitted and not reviewed annually or at any point in time. And so there's a lot of ambiguity around who can telework, why can't this person telework? And so kind of managing those like we do lead pay and kind of reviewing them annually, not necessarily at the commission level if that's not what you'd like, but at least making sure managers are, oh, right, I have this person doing telework. Is it still working? Does it still work for the office? What does my internal equity look like? And just keeping eyes on that compensation benefit that some employees have. So
I like that a lot, Mary. I need to look a little more and see what do you mean on the Washington only aspect?
Working out of state can have some tax implications, and so we just want
Washington
to
only. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
We just want to make sure we're keeping eyes on anything like that that's happening.
Yeah. I think it's necessary. I think it's time. I know that there'll probably be some reluctance to have it come to the commission level, but this is too important, can get out of hand if we don't keep track of it. So I have no problem with it coming to this level, but at the same time, I'll leave it to the other commissioners.
No, I appreciate the updates. I think that you've brought a lot of very positive changes, I think, to HR, and I appreciate that. Commissioner Shooty?
Yeah, I think these are good updates. Thank you, Mary.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
All righty,
Okay.
moving on to Jen for ARPA updates.
Good morning, commissioners. So the first item that I have is the ARPA updates. So in previous briefings, you have obligated $12,649,827 to ARPA projects. And Kate has been working with our ARPA recipients to receive updates on the projects. And so in your packets, there's the status of ARPA funded projects through September 30th. And we've received an update from everyone except for the Housing Authority. And so I am looking for some guidance on how you want to move forward with that, what you would like us to do.
On specifically the Housing Authority or all of it in particular?
Specifically on the Housing Authority.
Can I ask your recommendation first?
So, I mean, we can change the contract. I don't know. I mean, either way, even if we change the contract to include administrative and other items, we still need an accounting of everything that they have spent money on. So I don't know. I mean, I know that they need the money, but the fact that they're not responding is really concerning.
And Jennifer, that's why I'm asking you specifically. You have a recommendation of what you think. I know it's a hard recommendation, but I kind of need you to say what you, as the person who helps us through all this process, thinks is the best thing to do and the best way to handle this, as somebody who's gone through all the work to do everything you've done also. So please give me your best recommendation.
So thank you. If it were up to me, I would take back whatever money is left over and just stop the contract as it is, and make them prove to us any funding that they have spent up to this point. So that would be my recommendation to you, since we're not getting a response. Mark, did you have?
What about after that? If that was put in place by the commission, what about the funds that are available after that? Would they be on reimbursement, or is your recommendation to stop completely?
I think that we could do reimbursement. I mean, if they're able to prove to us what they've spent. Yes.
Now, as the commission know, you've put me on there as a ex officio advisory. I completely support Jennifer's recommendation that we do it in the manner that she recommended, allowing for reimbursement after we change the contract completely and put a complete new structure around it to make sure that it's verifiable all the way through. That was a hard one on me because I care very much for these people and very much for this stuff. But Jennifer is correct with her assumption, and I'll stand behind her recommendation. And I thank you, Jennifer, for all the extra work, effort, and time that you and your staff have put in to try and make all this work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know it's difficult to do. So yeah, thank you. Mark,
So just to give a quick background for folks maybe that aren't familiar or need a refresher on this contract. This is something that we set up with the Housing Authority with our second installment. We provided them $750,000 to do upgrades to some of their facilities that really needed upgrades. So they had some rooms that were really not habitable. And so they were planning on utilizing their own internal staff to go in and do the majority of the work in these rooms, get them fixed up so that they could then be available for additional renters. I think the Housing Authority worked hard to try and clean up some of their facilities and enforce some of the rules that they have regarding just the rules for living in one of those locations. The challenging part of it was we did not receive the quarterly updates that we asked for within the contract. And when we initiated this contract with them, the Housing Authority asked for the money up front so that they could quickly go out, purchase items. They did not have the ability to purchase things on credit, and so they were in a position where they were required to really pay up front for some of the items before they were delivered. And that was just because of some past, I think, experiences that vendors had with the Housing Authority. So we felt it was necessary for them to have immediate access to these funds in order to move forward. When we didn't receive the quarterly updates, Jen and Kate really worked with administration closely to try and get some documentation, to the point where Kate really went through all of the financials associated with the Housing Authority. I mean, received the actual checks that were dispersed, went through and identified things that could be charged and met the requirements of the contract that we have with the Housing Authority. And so through that process, the question came up, should we allow the Housing Authority to utilize some of these funds for their administrative costs? Because our original contract was it needed to be very specific to improving the rooms. With that said, we had a difficult time getting information and communication. They've had changes in leadership. I think that they've probably been without some leadership for a little while. I'm not sure who's currently continuing to work at the Housing Authority because we haven't received much communication back from them. So that's where our concern came into place. I do believe that the Housing Authority is contracting with now an outside vendor to come in and do some of this work. That is something that we could work with to ensure that they received reimbursement requests in a timely manner to pay those bills when the bills came in from the vendor. So I support Jen's recommendation that we collect whatever we can back from the Housing Authority. I think that they were right up around $150,000 is that about right, Jen? What we've
I believe so. Yeah, last time that we received anything, I believe it was about 150,000.
Yeah, somewhere around there, 150, let's say 150 to 175,000, that Kate was able to kind of piece together in allowable costs. So the recommendation would be go back to the Housing Authority and say, hey, why don't you reimburse us for those funds that we gave you up front? My concern is I don't know if they would be able to do that, but I'm not sure because I don't see their complete financial picture. But that definitely is a discussion that we would have to have with them. And then we could go to a reimbursement basis. Jen and Kate could continue to hold these funds as designated to go to the Housing Authority and reimburse on an as-you-go basis.
So if the commission agrees, we'd be asking Jennifer to go and put together the new structure, what it would look like, and bring it back to us for review and approval.
We would have to redo the contract.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea, Commissioner Shooty.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been supportive of this for quite a while, and I wanted to give Commissioner Netherland an opportunity to work through that process with the Housing Authority. But the liability with this is staggering and in a couple of ways. One in particular is, the direct audit responsibility or liability that we might have for these funds. But there's also a hidden liability that exists there that if these funds aren't appropriated or spent by a certain time, we lose the opportunity to put those dollars to work in the community. And I can't imagine the frustration that Jennifer and Kate had probably had in dealing with this. And it's just wildly unacceptable that the recipients of these funds would be treating our staff in the way that they have. And so I think let's pull the money back. Let's reevaluate where we are with the Housing Authority, and figure out a path forward, because my concern, even going to a reimbursement basis, is that how long do we allow that money to hang out there on a reimbursement basis without obligating it to a project that can get done within the timeline set forth by the American Rescue Plan? So pull it back. Let's have some more conversation about it and figure out the best way to deploy it. But the status quo is unacceptable here.
You know, we just had the same conversation regarding another entity earlier, and contracts and funds and how things were put out there. I personally would like to still see the idea of the reimbursement continue, but with on the paperwork with a hard deadline of when that gives us time to be able to move the money if we need to other things as well. This way, if they have anything in the works, nothing gets cut off, nothing gets stopped. But at the same time, we make sure that we give a deadline that where that money would be reobligated in plenty of time to utilize it.
And we could definitely put the same requirements that we have for all the other contracts, right? So we said June of 2024 was kind of the date that we gave, and then that would give us an additional 6 months before the end of 24 to obligate any remaining funds that we have. So Kate and Jennifer will continue to stay on top of all of these contracts, not just the Housing Authority, but to ensure that we are on track to obligate those funds and spend them within the time periods that we are required to. There is some specific language within the ARPA funding that gives us different responsibilities for different types of contracts that we enter into. So I believe that Jen and Kate have gone above and beyond what we need to do to mitigate those potential risks, especially with this contract, and comfortable in moving forward with Jen's recommendation if the board sees fit.
Well, and with that, I want to say, although we're coming down on this, I want to thank the Housing Authority for all the great work that they have done over the last few years. I got to tell you, it is night and day, but it doesn't mean you do everything the way that it should be done. In this situation, it needs to be fixed internally here with our department, our responsibility, and to do anything different would be inappropriate on our side. But with all the work that they've done and how those housings have changed, I used to dread it and walked out of there with tears. And I'm not saying that just as a joke. It was so devastating, some of the things we saw, and the turnaround that I've seen them do, and how these buildings have been cleaned up and they've moved a lot of these people that were causing troubles out. I want to give a thank you to them for all the great hard work and separate the two, that we have an issue with this, but I'm very appreciative of all the other stuff that they did do, and thank them on behalf of our community. It's a much different place today than it was a couple of years ago. It really, really, really is.
And I think we would want to express our appreciation for Commissioner Netherland, and as an ex officio board member, it really has jumped in here and tried to initiate these discussions and tried to provide the information that was necessary on our side. And so I don't think that goes without effort. So thank you.
So just to be clear, commissioners, so we'll send an email to the Housing Authority, letting them know that we're working on changing the contract to pull back any remaining funds as of today's date. Is that what you want to see, or should we? I can get with Tim Whitehead and get a recommendation.
Yeah, get with Tim Whitehead and get a recommendation of what to put forward. We're changing the contract. We have to wait till we actually get it changed, if that's what is decided by the commission. But go with whatever the recommendation, in my opinion, that Tim Whitehead says.
Okay, and if he recommends as soon as possible, we could try to get this on tomorrow's agenda, a contract, or.
Can you get it written up in that kind of time?
I'm concerned about that turnaround, Jen. Let's not be crazy.
Do it. Measure. What is it? Measure twice, cut once.
Okay, so
we can do it on the 7th.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So we'll follow up next week, or the 6th, or maybe both dates, just to keep in the loop on that one.
I think that's a great idea. So Jen, let's bring back to the board in a briefing the proposed revisions to the contract, and we can brief them on the details of that, and then we can put it on the agenda for the following regular meeting.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Well, and it sounds like the commission still needs to decide on what it says in that contract. I hear Commissioner Schutte has some other concerns and stuff. So I want to make sure that before we write something out, that we actually have, I hate the word consensus, but we have agreement on how to move forward.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So that was my main concern. None of the other projects are that concerning. I know the Port of Allen, so Larry Coppola passed away, and so I just wanted to point out that we are still getting communication from the Port of Allen, so that's great. We'll continue to keep you updated.
Yeah, they've established an interim director, the lady who's been there at the port for I think 20 years. So
okay. One of them that's not listed on here that is still open are the vehicle camera and installations. There's $14,211 left on that, and our vehicles are they've been delayed due to multiple reasons, COVID, and now I think all of the strikes that are happening, that sort of thing, that's delaying our vehicles even more. So we're wondering if that $14,211, plus it's really complicated to, have the vehicle cameras paid for, the bills come into the sheriff's office, and then they have to be coded through ARPA. So we're wondering if we can change that to maybe include office equipment, something like that. It's just an ask that I thought I would bring up.
if you do that, then we still got to come up with those funds from another pot at another point, and that's not in the budget. So it doesn't have to be used right away. Is there an issue with just letting it sit out there till those cars come in?
There isn't an issue with it sitting out there, except for that it's just kind of hanging out, and it'd be nice to just have it done. So yeah, there's no issue with it. I just thought I would bring it up as an option.
Well, I'd like to keep it in, personally, I'd like to keep it in ARPA because we just got done having the briefing with the sheriff's department in regards to budget. And to have a change like that would mean we'd also have to have the conversations about where that money will come from and how to put it in the budget for next year. So we have time till June of 2024. If it doesn't pop up, then we can do something different at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, just keeping it as is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sounds good. I don't think there was anything in here otherwise that was too concerning as far as timelines. I'm sure, early next year we'll start to kind of have a better idea of who's going to be running late and who's going to be on time, and hopefully we'll have most of these projects squared up by June, so that we're not reallocating a bunch. There is a little bit of funding that has been turned back from completed projects. So those include the Hood Canal communications. They have about 87,000, and I know there was that request to move that to another source. So that was the Hood Canal Communications, the customer arrearages. We have $8,261 from Crossroads Housing. That's not going to be expended. And then the prosecutor's office second floor expansion, that was cheaper than we thought. So we have about 36,500 remaining. The jail elevators and doors, we have 6,400 remaining.
Even after all the increases on that?
That was from the amount that we allotted was $80,000. And
different elevator, Commissioner Nolan.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, it's the one in the main courthouse. And so there's two elevators. There's one for the jail and there's one for public within the main courthouse. The one in the public area is the one I think that you're remembering.
Yep.
We have $163 from the IT infrastructure backbone storage upgrade. $2,567 from Public Works Lakeland Pump Station, or Lakeland Pump Station. So we have about $157,864 that is left over from those projects, but we did have $110,926 that was over obligated initially. So that we have about 47,000 roughly sitting there that is ready to be re-obligated. So it's something to keep in mind. So that's all I had on the ARPA update, unless you have anything else that you want me to follow up on.
Personally, on that ARPA, I'd rather wait until we know the complete picture to reallocate. So we might do a bigger project or more smaller projects, but we'll know exactly what we have. That's just my personal choice. But at the same time, as we're doing that, I've talked about it in the past, and I've talked about it again with Mark since then. We would be wise to over obligate that with projects that we would pay out a REIT or other things to make sure that we, without a doubt, don't lose one single dime. If we think we're going to have 200, we obligate 350 to that pot and pay for it out of REIT in the end or other line items. But better to come in with more projects than less.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good idea to do in-house projects with that remaining money for sure. So anything else on that, commissioners?
No.
Okay, so the next thing that I have is
I want to say I tried my best, but can people see how tiny this is? I need a magnifying glass with the stuff you're sending me. Even glasses don't help.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it online because I can blow it up, Commissioner, and I don't have to squint.
Yeah.
we did have a page break in there, so I don't think the entire thing was supposed to be included. I think Mackenzie was just trying to make that she included it, and we just didn't communicate that to her. So sorry about that. Sorry, Mackenzie, that you had to mess with that.
Any smaller, it's going to be secret message type conversations. You have to have special equipment to read it.
For sure. Sorry. We'll make
sure.
sure.
Rings.
Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, I'm going to share my screen for the budget update. Okay, so here is the 2024 budget as it stands today. We have the beginning fund balance right now is estimated at 28 million. I still need to take a look at that and see if we need to move that or not. We have total revenues in the general fund estimated at $43,047,071. We have total salaries and benefits estimated at $33,680,091. I did adjust the salaries and benefits a little bit. I had a little bit too much in the October 9th estimate due to the 2% cost of living. I had some of the extra help positions that aren't included in the non-union salary scale. Those positions were included in there. So I removed $7,418 from the general fund for those positions. So just to clarify that, we have operating expenditures estimated at $15,907,624. And we have ending fund balance is $21,459,356. So total estimated current expense budget as of today, $71,047,071. The total budgeted FTEs in this budget, 282.67 for current expense. Any questions or comments right now? commissioners?
Not yet for me.
Okay. So we'll move on to the special funds. We'll go over that really quickly. The beginning fund balance for total special funds is estimated at $47,093,993. Revenues $63,818,503 for total revenues of $110,912,496. Salaries and benefits estimated at $15,406,574. Total operating expenditures are estimated at $57,954,514, and estimated ending fund balances are $37,551,408 for total estimated expenditures in special funds $110,912,496, and total budgeted FTEs are 131.13. So any questions on any of that so far?
Not for me.
So a couple of things that we need to go over. I did a reconciliation on the salaries or on the FTEs in the budget, and I'll pull that up so you can see it. And I do have two additional salaries and benefits for 2 FTEs in this budget that that I need to remove. So one is in the sheriff's office. We have 101.5 FTEs that should be in this budget, plus the one that was tentatively added for the sheriff deputy position for a total of 102.5 FTEs. And so there's one additional FTE in here where we moved a traffic deputy up to patrol, and I didn't remove that traffic deputy out. And so the amount that's included in this budget for salaries is $74,705, and then plus the benefits for that position. So I'll remove that for the next budget update. And then in solid waste, same thing. They had an FTE that we added at the end of last year for the budget, and then I accidentally added an additional FTE. So they have $45,096 plus benefits in there. So just a little explanation, and I'll share that that FTE reconciliation spreadsheet. So here's the 2023 adopted budget. We had 410.02 rounding. We have 0.01 and showing on our adopted budget spreadsheet. We've added temporary positions 0 throughout the year. We've added permanent positions of 2.77. So that is, we added 1.07 in Superior Court. We added the accounting tech position mid-year. And then we increased the court commissioner from a 0.93 FTE to a 1 FTE. So that's an increase of 1.07. And in County Road, we added 0.7. We moved a 0.3 FTE intern position to a 1 permanent FTE position. So that's an increase of 0.7. We added 1 FTE in health for the epidemiologist position. So that's a total of the 2.77 FTEs. And in Superior Court, they moved 0.0375 from Law Library into Superior Court. So those are the transfers within the funds. We did not add any temporary positions. And then we've added 3 positions tentatively in the 2024 budget. Those are the grant writer position. We added
I
that.
kind of need to hold you for 1 second, Jennifer. Did we have a discussion on moving that 0.375 person from into Superior Court general fund budget instead of in the law library budget?
I did not bring that up, and that is a really good point. Yeah, I don't think I don't know if Superior Court brought that up.
Yeah, that's an increase into the general fund from the law library, which are 2 separate.
Right. Yeah, and good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I should have brought that up. I was just thinking it was so minimal that it didn't really matter. But I mean, I guess any increase is, an increase to the general fund. I can ask Patty to bring that forward. Patty McGuire.
Yeah, I think they should, because if we start doing that without briefing on it, we can move things that are allocated from other funding, special funds in health, and they just start spending it out of the general fund or other things that we have funding without knowing that it's going to the general fund. It should be a briefed. It's not another person hired. It's just instead of taking it out of a specific fund that is segregated, it'll come out of the general fund numbers and change and lower the general fund number while increasing the money that will be in the law library.
Yeah, and I don't have that dollar amount. I mean, it was so small that, I mean, that's why I was thinking, it really didn't make that much of a difference. But yeah, I mean, it every little bit is, an increase or decrease. So yeah, I can have him.
Yeah, it's not the amount for me, it's the issue.
Okay. So in the meantime, do you want me to leave it as is? Do you want me to move that back to law library? How do you want me to handle that?
I'll leave that up to the other commissioners, because I believe that anytime anything like that should be done, it should be briefed and should be decided upon the commissioner. If we're going to shift where money's coming from by policy, it should always come before us and us discuss it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I do too.
Okay, so for the next budget briefing, then I will move it back into law library, and then ask Patty to brief it.
Do you know if they increased the expenditures in law library and they're running short and that's why they need to do this, or should we just wait until Patty can?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I know that law library is it looks like their revenues are declining, if I remember right. Pull it up.
Looks like they're projecting about 20 increase of $23,000 in additional revenue, and they have a beginning fund balance of 37,000.
Yeah. And see what they did the year before. I used to be on law library. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if Commissioner Trask, are you on that now? Who's on that?
Nope.
None of us?
I think it's the chair who's assigned to that, but they may not be meeting either. So
yeah.
Huh. I have no idea. I think it's the vice chair.
If I did it for years, I wouldn't mind doing it if we needed me to, but heck, I got extra time. No, just kidding. Oh, it's me.
Yeah, their adopted budget is $62,988 for 2023. And their ending fund balance is estimated at 28,132 for 2023. Their salaries and benefits for 2023, 6,246. So for 2024, with that decrease, it's 2,834. So, you know, it's not quite $4,000, but yeah, I'll have that conversation with Patty. So going back to the FTEs. So we have the grant person, grant FTE in support services. We have the clerical position in the prosecutor's office. Can you all see the FTEs?
Mm-hmm. It's tiny, but we can see it.
Oh.
Kevin, with her explanation of that we actually had more money in that sheriff's employee positions than we were actually using, you were still not comfortable with the one. Are you more comfortable with that now?
Which one?
I think sheriff's position. We had quite a convoluted way of doing it. If this one could be moved to this one, the REIT funds on the other one, then you were going to be okay with, I think you said, the sheriff's position and the prosecuting attorney support.
Yeah, so I was supportive of the one sheriff's deputy position and the grant writer. I was not initially supportive of the clerical. And then I was open to a discussion about the maintenance, depending on if we could bill some of that to REIT 2 or how that was going to play out. Otherwise, you know, I would be a no on that one as well. So I don't.
Oh, no, that answers it a little bit. So, considering let's ask the question on the REIT first. Were you able to discover whether or not we could do some REIT to offset the maintenance?
So oh, go ahead, Jen.
Can we finish this one first and then we'll go back to that one? Because I don't want to jump around too much.
Okay.
Okay, so this is where we're at right now. We've added these three positions tentatively. So we have 285.66 in the general fund for FTEs. That includes the error correction on the sheriff's office where we had one additional. So that would bring their FTE count to 102.5. So anyway, the 285.66 is a good solid number, or reconciled number, I should say. And then in the special funds, we have 130.13, depending on what we do with the law library, the 0.0375, for a total of 415.79 FTEs. And then we have the vacancies listed here. So I'll send this to you, commissioners, so you can check that out. We have, it looks like.
Yeah, please do. This is.
Yeah, I just finished this up Friday afternoon. So 33.5 vacancies as of Friday. It's hard to get a live, you know, as of date on that because it's such a moving target, but it looks like as of Friday we had 33.5, and they're in these different offices and departments. So in you know, the sheriff's office being the biggest one, I think we have 14 there, 14 vacancies. Most of them, of course, are corrections deputies. And then in engineering, they're the second biggest vacancies. We've got looks like 5 different vacancies there, or 6 with engineering construction.
So on the on your coding, if I'm reading this right, the 2 ending in 2.3 is corrections, ending in 2.1 is on the other side of the house in the deputy sheriff's side of the house.
Ending in 2.1 and 2.3.
Yeah. I'm looking up right there. Yes.
So, so this is, administration.
521's admin.
No, 265 is admin.
Okay.
And then 270 is jail.
Okay.
280 is traffic.
Okay.
267, which isn't listed, that's patrol.
Okay. 267. I'll remember that. Yeah, please share this with us.
Okay. I will. So yeah, these are all the vacancies. This one here, the radio upfit technician in the ER&R, I wasn't sure if we were going to leave that as a vacancy, or, you know, if we should eliminate that FTE. I'm not, you know, I haven't talked to Public Works about that, but I don't think it's been filled for a while. Which doesn't mean that they won't fill it. But...
No, and when we did that, did we do it with the idea that a lot of our vehicles were going to be upfit there? Because that was our discussion as a commission at the time. So I'm wondering if that position isn't needed anymore since we moved out. How long's that position been there?
It's been there for a while. I mean, it's been vacant for a while, but I think when we moved to Enterprise, it probably wasn't necessary anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Let's ask them, and if they, you know, they may want to keep it, but if they don't really need it. Because that would have also meant we were paying into it out of the general fund to do our upfits, was the original plan.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's just sitting vacant, so nobody's paying into it. But it, you know, it's just, if it's just hanging out, I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just do away with it formally.
We'll double check with them first. I don't want to just jump over the top of them and say it.
Sounds good. Okay, so I'll send this to you, and yeah, we can go back to the budget presentation.
Okay, so the question would have been on the REIT.
So REIT, Diane and I and Mark talked about that, and we're not comfortable putting a position. I'm definitely not comfortable putting an FTE in REIT. But I mean, if we put them in the general fund and then there were additional REIT projects, I mean, that's a possibility.
Yeah, we never wanted to put in the past, we've never put a person under REIT. What we did is we funded them through REIT instead of the general fund. So it's money in, money out.
Okay, and whether there's projects there, Diane might be able to answer that better than me, Diane or Mark.
I don't hear Diane jumping on.
I'm here.
Oh, do you want to talk about it, Diane, a little bit?
Sure. So yeah, what we do is we actually budget the FTEs in the general fund in Parks budget, and then the guys track their hours when they're actually working on a REIT 2 project. And in 2022, we paid out $48,856 in REIT with salaries and benefits. And then in 24, we maintained the budget request in the 24 REIT 2 of it's 79,000 with salaries and benefits, because we'll continue to track the time. And so then that gets paid out of REIT 2 rather than the general fund.
Yeah, we did it before. We took a bunch of different programs that we had historically had been contracting out, and we put them specifically in our budget with the idea we're going to use it through REIT. If we're not doing that, then there is no extra coming from REIT, then it's a position not REIT funded.
Thought there's a recommended increase of about $30,000, Diane, was that correct? From 40 to 70?
Well, no, it's still at the 40 whatever in salaries, because that's what the benefits, it's at 79. So
it all depends on what REIT 2 projects we do. If this position would be doing REIT 2, that's where we would pay for the hours from.
It's not
Yeah.
any one individual. So when the staff go out and work on a REIT 2 project, then they bill the hours that they worked on that project directly to REIT 2.
Correct. And we would be, and in this request, we're asking that out of the extra help, which we have 30,000 in there, that we would move 15 from that to help fund this FTE in hopes that we could attract, you know, another FTE, and then that would leave us 15,000 in seasonal help, because we still would like to go out and hire one seasonal help who we would dedicate to Sand Hill during ball season. But it's been really difficult to attract seasonal. So we thought maybe if we had an FTE position, we would have better luck at actually getting someone on board.
And we were also thinking about succession planning as well, right?
Well, we're always doing that, yes.
Yeah.
And yes, we have 2. We know that Anne's going out in January, and we do have our senior person out there who I suspect the next couple of years.
Yeah, and for the succession planning, we did include that.
Right, because we'll have cross training for Anne's position in December, January.
Yeah, so the 5790 is included in maintenance level and was approved in a previous briefing on October 3rd. Okay, so for the parks position, then, so you're thinking, Diane, to increase REIT by up to $30,000?
No, I didn't suggest that we increase that REIT amount, but there's still capacity in it to utilize it, even if this position is working on REIT 2. But we are suggesting that we would take in the general fund 15 from the seasonal help line, which is at 30, reduce that down to 15, but then 15 of that could help fund this FTE request.
Diane, is that already factored into the 66,200, or would that 15 come off the 66 to be 51?
That I'll have to refer to Jen on, short with Anna on the numbers. I think the 66 is the full amount. So yes, the budget, it would see a reduction there of the 15.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you saw the full cost of an FTE here and it wasn't watered down.
No, that's good. I'm happy that it's 66 minus 15, not 66 is already the backed out number with the 15. So that's a good thing in my mind.
Great. So I have a few other things to go over on the budget if you want to think about that, or if you want to, vote on it right now. On that parks position. What do you want to do?
I'm good with you rolling through and then revisiting personally.
I'll support it the same.
Yeah, me too.
Great, so we'll come back to this. I'm going to go back to this sheet. So the things that I wanted to point out or go over. My ruler here. Okay, so therapeutic court, they now have a grant. Let's scroll down to them. So they have a grant now. Patty McGuire had briefed that last week. But after talking to Patty and Paula, it looks like their grant amount is not quite going to cover the full $285,855 that they're asking for. So it looks to me like they're going to need about $89,739 as the budget sits in TST funding, because their grant amount is about $199,547. So I just wanted to run that by you commissioners and see there is capacity in TST to increase that amount to $89,739, or increase it by $89,739. Their current TST budgeted transfer is $304,685. So their total budget for this fund is $685,446. So that's, I believe that should be that number plus that number. They have $91,475 in CJTA funding revenue, and then offsetting expenditures. So the $304,685 plus the $199,547 leaves $89,739 that they would need. So if you're okay with that, commissioners, I'm asking to increase the treatment sales tax budgeted transfer into therapeutic court by that number, $89,739, on behalf of therapeutic court.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's mine.
Same.
Thank you. And not that they'll use it, but at least it will be available and not come out of the general fund potentially. So another thing that has to do with the budget, vehicles. So we're running into timing issues. So we have the authorized vehicle rates, and then I always bring to the board the vehicle orders. And so I just wanted to see, commissioners, if you're okay with Mark signing for those if those vehicles become available, because what's happening is the vehicles become available. It takes, a couple of weeks for me to brief it, get it on the agenda. So if you're okay, as long as those vehicles, if the orders are within the budgeted rates, can Mark sign for them?
I'm okay with it if you put it together as an actual motion for our meeting. I'm not comfortable with just starting to do that out of briefing.
Okay. So if I put it on the November 7th action agenda, that he can sign them as long as they're within the budgeted rates.
I'm comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, at the risk of prolonging this simple discussion, he doesn't already have that authority.
I don't believe it's in the current resolution. So we can maybe adjust that resolution.
It would depend. I think up to 50,000 is where my current authority is. But yeah, it would depend on how many vehicles came in.
Yeah, we could spell that out specifically as an item that he's allowed to sign for.
It'd be simple. We'll just do it, and it keeps us on the same track of what we're already doing, what I think actually works.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately we are budgeting for these things, and so that seems like an administrative function. So I mean, whatever we need to do to get to that point, because I frankly was operating under the assumption that he had that authority already. So, well, I think that's a good item for our next action agenda.
Agreed.
Thank you. And then the next thing I have is Russellwood. I think they're going to need some money, and this year, and I put in 100,000 in as a transfer from a previous budget briefing that we had for next year, but I think that they're going to need up to 100,000 in this year's budget. So I wanted to bring that up.
We have some in capacity of the 09 funds. We'd be better off just adding that to the list we're about to send forward.
I don't think that this would be an eligible 0.09 fund expenditure.
No, is there something though that's happening this year that we can supplant? Because I agree, it wouldn't fit it just to do it for debt, but if there's something work or something else they're doing, then it can just be supplanted.
Maybe I can.
Loretta or Richard still on? Oh, I don't see them here still.
Okay, and I can bring this forward next week. I know this isn't really part of the.
Well, and if not, I have no problem putting it through, but it makes sense to do it if we can.
Okay, I'll work with Loretta on that and see if there's anything. That we can...
Most of our projects in that fund are specifically funded through other sources right now, but definitely we can sit down, look into it, Jen.
Yeah, Lisa's on.
This is Lisa, and I just want to pop in here because they are very short in cash. They have $14,000 in cash available right now. They have a $48,000 loan payment due on November 30th. So whatever happens needs to happen very quickly.
I'm in favor of dropping the 100K into the. With that note, matter of fact, you should probably put it on the agenda
for the 7th.
Thank you.
I'll bring that.
Thank you, Lisa.
I'll bring that forward as an item for next week's budget briefing. But I just wanted to say I don't think they're going to have any cash at the beginning of the year. So that's why I'm kind of bringing it forward with the 2024 budget, because their beginning fund balance in the budget right now as it sits is $108,176. So and if they have 14,000 right now and a $48,000 loan payment, they're
I ain't gonna make it.
So, and I think their rates, they're going to bring in I think I was estimating about $70,000.
Do they have any funds that are out there right now that are reimbursable that they've done some work under some grants? Or is there any possibility some of that's reimbursable that we're not showing yet?
Yes, so they do have a grant. They have grant expenditures that have been expended, and that's about, I think it was 59,000 that they had. But even with that and their operating expenditures, they are going to be lucky to break even.
No, I get it.
Here. So they're definitely,
even then that money may not come in time for the bill that the treasurer just told us about.
Yeah. So yeah, I think 100,000 would be sufficient for them. But yeah, I'll work with Loretta and Richard to see if there's anything 0.09 eligible. I don't think that there is though, and I'll bring that next week. We can get it on.
That 48,000, is that a yearly payment or is that how?
It is a yearly payment, and I believe that one changes every year. I can take a look at their bond payment schedule a little closer.
There's Lisa.
If I can get myself unmuted, sorry. So that is their December payment that has their installment and interest, and they paid just interest in July. So it's more than that on an annual basis.
Lisa, do you happen to know what that total debt is?
Yeah, I can look. Hang on just a second.
And if there's a prepayment penalty.
This is one that we just refinanced. I don't believe there is a prepayment penalty, but I'd have to do some research on it.
If we refinance, there wasn't. That we were really good about that.
So
do you know how much? This might be something we might want to talk about at the end also for expenditures.
I can get those numbers for you, but I don't have them right here in front of me.
No problem.
Their debt schedule.
That might be something that would be good to do a one-time, if we can afford it. Always nice paying off debt.
Yeah, so their annual payment is about $62,000 a year. And if you give me a minute, I'll go look up the bond amount on that. So hang on just a second.
So with that, I mean, I would be hesitant to put general fund dollars on, you know, any significant amount into an enterprise fund where that fund is supposed to be self-sufficient, they're supposed to be, you know, redoing those rates and making it so that the rates are based on water consumption. And so I would, really recommend.
We're aware of that, Jennifer. We're looking at those options, but it may not ever be able to be. So there are other ways we have to look at it. We have done it in the past on different other things. So it's not like it's something we've never done before. Belfair is a great example.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and I know that the Public Works Board, we're going to make that as a requirement that people do rate studies, like before issuing loans or grants. So I'm glad we're doing it this year.
Yeah, and that might be a good place for ARPA funds to go if we have extra, you know, something different.
Approximately 1.8 million.
For just Russellwood?
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
Sorry, I thought I was muted there, Lisa, but I blurted that out.
Well, that's a lot of money, right?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. That's why it's $60,000 a year.
Okay, so I'll bring that down. The next thing I wanted to point out, so the clerk has said he's done with Blake reimbursements, and Robin verified that that all Blakes are being done by AOC now, and so there's $12,000 in revenue and expense for those Blakes that we thought might be outstanding next year. So commissioners, if you're okay with that, I'm recommending we remove that revenue and expense of $12,000 from the clerks.
Good. Same.
Thank you. And then, I also wanted to say, because this came up in a prior budget workshop, there was $35,000 for revenue that we didn't put into maintenance for passports, but I just wanted to point that out, that is not in maintenance level, because the clerk has said that he will not be doing passports for next year. So I wanted to let you know. There's a position that position that's split between Superior Court and Law Library was reclassed, and so I need to increase the salary and benefits for that position to reflect that reclass that was done. So I'll bring that back in.
So then we did have that discussion. Is that point 0.03 or whatever we had there?
It is, yes.
So we did discuss that.
Okay.
I do remember that, and so I remember us deciding that it was best just to move it completely at the time. Am I misunderstanding, or are you, the other commissioners, in agreement that with that same memory?
No, that's what I recall too. I'm glad that you brought that up, Jennifer. That was a memory jogger.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember that conversation at all. So I just had talked to Patty about that and was asking him about that position because it looked weird on an action agenda, and he said yes, that was reclassed. So good. I will not talk to him about that. That's taken care of. I thought that would be weird for Patty to do something like that without asking you, because he's pretty good about doing that sort of thing. So so great. Okay. We talked about.
Do you remember, Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, that's starting to ring a bell.
Okay, so I will leave that as is. Phew, such a pain to go back and transfer those funds around anyway. So thank you. Okay, so got that. And just one last thing, I want to remind all the offices and departments that 2023 budget amendment requests are due to me by November 6th. So I'll send out a reminder, but that's all that I have to go over on the budget today. So I'll follow up on November 6th with a budget workshop.
Are we gonna come back to the employees now, or are we just gonna leave it as it is and discuss it in November?
Oh, yeah, let's go back to that, sorry. We can definitely think about that and go back on come back to it on November 6th, if that's what you want to do.
Well, we had one of the things ironed out. It's been agreed upon that the position for maintenance would definitely be if it was REIT. So at least that's what Kevin said. He would consider supporting it if it was, but if now that we know that it's not, Kevin, where are you at?
Yeah, but well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't prioritize that over the others, I guess, is where I'm at.
I can't disagree with that. I have other ones that I know I think we need, and I think we still need to negotiate out. So I don't want to fight for that one over the support help for the prosecuting attorney's office. Because I remember that's one that was all tied to this also. So Kevin, if we give that one up, any chance you could support the prosecuting attorney's office one clerical position?
Yeah.
Then I will agree to the same.
Yep, me too.
Okay, so we are moving this one off of the list, then the part.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're making it unanimous on the other, because right, it was 2 and 1 on the prosecutor's clerical. Now it's unanimous.
Okay. I'll make that change on the next budget workshop sheet.
What about the chief deputy? I've heard some different numbers now, and maybe Jennifer has better numbers. I was told it wasn't near as much as I was seeing, but if we did allow for them to not reclassify to when they restructure their organization, it would create the position of a chief deputy that would also handle the elections, and that's a discussion I did have with the elected official on that. We'd still need to add something into the budget. I don't know what the difference would be, but maybe 20,000-30,000 to the budget if we were to support that.
Yeah, I appreciate the information that was sent over to us. My opinion hasn't changed on it at this point. I would still be a no and prioritize the other 3 positions over this.
Yeah, I'm still not comfortable with the position. Putting it into the budget as is yet. I do know that there's a process and some of the process hasn't been followed yet. So I would be, at this point, I'm a no still.
Okay. Well, then that's 2 to 1. I won't fight it. Hopefully we will look at it if they give a restructure. I'm trying to think of the term we usually use when we have them go through the department and they give us a new spreadsheet of what they are. I'm at a loss for words today, commissioners. What's it called?
Reclass?
No, it's what they do for the department.
A reorg?
Yeah, reorg. Thank you. It'd probably be in the process of a reorg. I see his hand is up. I don't know if you want to hear from him now.
My hand is up. I just want to let you guys know that I would like to revisit this. Commissioner Schutte and Commissioner Trask, your opinions are well noted, and your current positions are well noted. But I have provided Mary with a draft position description, and I think we're really talking about a delta of a number of far south of $10,000. I think it's around $6,000.
Yeah.
But I'd like to go through that with you guys in more detail on the 6th.
So I don't know if that would be really appropriate to do during the budget workshop. So I don't know, commissioners.
Well, I wanted to tee it up for a briefing topic, and I was advised it's best to cover it in a budget discussion. So I am following that path.
The truth is, on this one, looking at the whole picture right now, Mr. Auditor, if you were to do a reorg, it would be in your reorg paper. You would be able to eat the difference in pay until until a budget amendment was first made with only that small of adjustment. So what you might do is just set it up as a reorg and get it passed as a reorg, and then ask the commission to add it into the budget after that. It seems like a wise move right now, especially since you have two of them that are currently don't see it anyway. The reorg might be the best way to have that discussion with them. Just my opinion.
Well, I appreciate that, Commissioner Netherland, and happy to approach it from that context too. I just think it's an important thing to do for reasons that I don't want to get into right now, but would be more than happy to deep dive the topic through a discussion on reorganization.
Right.
Okay, so that's all that I have on the budget, commissioners. So we'll bring this back. I'll bring this back on November 6th.
I think that's the only outstanding piece left, right? Everything else we're in agreement with each other?
Yeah, I think so. Then it will just be adjusting the property tax revenue, making those few adjustments that we talked about today. And yeah.
And if it's done through a reorg anyway, or we look at it from that, then we are on the same page with every aspect. I'm not saying that I'm on a different page than the other two commissioners on that. Maybe that's the proper way to handle it, not this way. We'll handle it however we need to. So I'm ready to move forward. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great work, Jen. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Oh, the last thing that I have, I'm so used to the budget being the last thing. The last thing that I have is the 0.09 Rural County Sales and Use Tax Fund. So we did receive one more application from the city of Shelton. So we received the application. It's for $125,000, and it's for the satellite wastewater treatment plant headworks upgrades. And so I don't know if you got a chance to look at this or not, but
my question is, how is it structured? Is that just 125,000 one time, or 125,000 a year for several years?
One time, it's gap funding is what I would call it. So it's the difference between what they have funded, what they've already taken out of city funds to apply towards it, and they have $125,000 gap to get the project complete. So one time.
Okay, because when I talked to them, I thought it was something needed for a couple of years.
Yeah, it looks to me like it's needed for a few years. It looks like it says it's needed in phases of 4 over 6 years.
I thought it was one.
Yeah, that's not clear when I read it, so
Well, I think the project is phase 1 of a 6-year, $17.2 million project to improve the capacity of the satellite plant.
Yeah.
But I believe this one was the different, and maybe I read it wrong. So I do not see, we used to have the public works director on, but we must have lost him.
I know with my discussions with them, it was to set up, it was to help them to find that the gaps that would span a couple of years. I think it was 2 or 3 years was the last discussion I had. Although it's not normal, Commissioner Trask, I see that the mayor is on there. He may not even know this question, but can we ask him that question?
Yeah, the reason I thought it was just for a 1 year was because of the application that they had, but Aaron Nisco, are you
I know about the ask. I'm not sure if it's more than one.
okay? And Jay was on here at one time.
Who was?
We bored him to tears.
Yeah. The way that I read it, Commissioner Trask, I thought it was maybe similar to what you were hearing or saying, that the city had obtained state funding, but they had to use $400,000. So it brought their total amount up to 3.6 million. And what they have funded is the 3.45, I think. And so they needed the 125,000 to get it up to that total dollar amount before the state would issue the 3.2 million that they gave them.
Well, just so you know, I even if it's one time, I'm going to be supportive. If it's 2 or 3 installments, also I am supportive, because I thought that's what it was, and it would also give them a breather on some of their other expenditures. And this is what it's for. So just know I'm supportive either way. But so I think we need to get it on, but we should clarify. Would the other commissioners be supportive either way, or just one?
Oh, I support it either way. I think it's critical that they get this done.
Yeah.
It does look like you're right, Mark. They're saying in here that that they have other funding of 3,540,000. So the difference between 3.665 million and the 3,540,000 is the 125 one-time thing. So they're looking at 340,000 from the city's sewer fund. Sorry, that's where I was getting confused, because they were off by that amount, but they're only asking for 125,000.
Yeah, that's how I read it.
Okay, then I'll support it.
I think will as well.
Great. So now I have to send the letters out again to the ports. So we'll do that, and then we'll put this on the agenda for November 21st, after the letters go out to the ports, letting them know.
Hopefully this goes through good and we're able to help the city. Appreciate the situation they're in, and they're working real hard to fix it. They're doing well.
They are, and I think it's also Kell is still on there. She is. Kell meets with Jay. I think it's either once a month or once a week. So that relationship between the city and the county has been strengthened so much just by communications. So it's kind of cool how when people communicate properly, things typically work out.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I'll include this in the next budget workshop as well.
Thank you.
Out of the 2009 funds. And that's all that I have.
So that's all that we had for support services agenda. I did have an administrator update that I wanted to bring before the board. I've been talking with your clerk a little bit about what's the likelihood of changing our schedule for our regular board meetings to weekly on Tuesdays. So I think that oftentimes we get pushed to meet a timeline, and we take an item that was briefed today and push it to the agenda for tomorrow. That's difficult on the clerk, because she then has to go and revise all of the agendas and potentially has to mess with some of the public hearings that are scheduled. So it seems like it's occurring quite often. And we were wondering if the board would be interested in going back to having our regular meeting every Tuesday. Versus having one every other Tuesday.
I was going to say versus actually having a justification for moving things over, other than people not being on schedule with things?
I mean, sometimes things come up, but yeah, some of it is definitely lack of planning on the departments or offices side.
When would we, if we did do this, when would we start doing this again?
That would be up to you guys.
Do you have a recommendation?
I would think that we would need to notice it, obviously, to the public and let everybody know that we're going back to that. So, I would think either beginning of November or mid-November. Kind of tough because we're getting into the holiday season that time too. So there are times where we're going to be not in the office because of holidays, and that will impact our ability to get things approved in a regular meeting also. So
I myself, if we did it, make sense to do it beginning of the new year and really notice it. But at the same time, I've been supportive of going back to Tuesdays from day one. I never liked it, but I got to tell you, what Kevin just said just kind of shook me up a little bit. I don't like the idea of going to it because somebody's not doing their job. I hadn't thought about it in that manner when it was put in that as a question. That does bother me a little bit more than I thought it would have.
Well, the typical government response is let's have more meetings instead of let's actually be efficient with what our requests are. And I think we had been doing for a long time, what we had been doing for a long time was we would move it if there was a legitimate financial impact or, you know, a very clear deadline that if we missed it, there would be ramifications to our operations. And I think we've gotten lax with that. And, you know, and I think, Mark, part of this, you know, frankly, is on you to manage, you know, the people that you can manage to get their work in on time.
Absolutely.
And to be forward thinking in how they're doing their scheduling and their calendaring. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to sit in these meetings and ask questions and hear that, you know, deadlines are being missed or that we're, you know, so if you need to come back to us with a capacity question, you know, or conversation, that's where we come in if we need to address those issues. But just, you know, from a workload management perspective, I think there's an opportunity for you to dig in a little bit more. And if it's another elected official, then we can have those conversations about them getting things in on time or not on time or determining what their level of urgency is. But if it's something that's originating under one of our departments, then I'll say it here so that they can hear it from at least me and Commissioner Trask and Netherland. If they want to join in, they can too. It's unacceptable to be that far behind the ropes on everything all the time. Just need to get better at this stuff.
I agree.
I hate when I shift my opinions. I've been so in favor of going back to weekly, but I cannot deny that argument at all. And sometimes it is our responsibility to push it forward. I guess I would not be in support of doing it if it's just because we're not doing our job. Others aren't doing their job. So I'd like to revisit this after we look into it a little bit. And if we do it, let's do it for the right reason. I think more is better for access is the reason why I like it. For people to have access to us on those Tuesdays. Maybe there's other ways of doing it, but I definitely want it to be for the right reason, not just because we're not getting the stuff in like we're supposed to. So I'm in support of at least waiting and revisiting it.
Well, I see the frustration and people are not getting things. We have a deadline that you're supposed to get your things in even for the briefing on Wednesday at noon. And so many times people are like, oh my gosh, for some reason, I just don't have it for you. Well, that lowers my faith in their ability to manage their time. And so I know that we were really good for a while about saying, nope, you don't have it in by Wednesday at noon, then you don't have it on the agenda. And we need to get back to that. We need to start holding people more accountable for time management, I guess.
I agree, Commissioner. We did hold tight for quite a while. Then it became funny, but just look at our meeting today. We're just throwing things on there now for the next day. And it's become the norm, and that's probably not appropriate.
No, I think it's very inappropriate.
So the question goes back to what Commissioner Schutte says, is it because we have the work level, or is it because somebody's not doing their job and getting it to us in time? Let's look at that question and make a decision after we hear a response to that question.
And that is absolutely my job. So I will, I can definitely take that forward and work with at least the individuals that report directly to me and hold them accountable to those timeframes. And if they do need additional resources, then let's go out and get them.
Well, and if it's not just you, because as Commissioner Trask just reminded us, if the other elected officials departments are not getting it in time, it is our responsibility to say no also. And
absolutely. So elected officials, Commissioner Netherland, I agree with you 100%. That definitely should be a message that comes from the board directly. But definitely for the departments, which makes up the majority of these agendas. Those are the ones that I need to hold accountable to those timelines.
Yeah, and there's also a part of me that wants to. Zoom has made it very easy, convenient. So there's really no reason for people to have their cameras on when they're talking to us. Sorry, it's just a pet peeve.
Oh, that you prefer to see somebody's face when they're talking to you?
When they're talking to us, I would prefer to see their face. Yeah.
Okay.
It's hard enough. I like body language. And so it's hard enough to just read their face. But when their camera's off, you can't
for our
see
staff,
they're rolling their eyes at you or not.
Yeah, for our staff, there's no excuse. For the public, just a reminder that some of them don't have the bandwidth, and turning off the pictures the only way they can communicate.
Well, and that's usually it's usually, I mean, during briefings, it's not the public, it's our staff. Yeah. So
no, I agree.
Well, and then I think that we could also kind of revisit what are our general guidelines associated with how we conduct briefings, and you know, do we want to include individuals? So if an individual from the public was attending this, in the past, we've not given them the opportunity to speak, right? So the opportunity for the public to speak is usually on Tuesdays of our regular meetings, where they could bring up and address items that they want to discuss with the board. I think for many reasons, and all not bad reasons, we have allowed other individuals to get involved in some of these discussions, and I think it works well when it's positive input. But you know, that quickly can change too, where it may not be positive input, and it may just add to the length of our briefings and kind of get outside of the organized structure that we try and put it in. So something else to think about, but I definitely will. Oh, it looks like Jay Hill's coming back on right after I give the talk about having the public speak. But Commissioner Trask, I'll let you. if you'd like to ask him that clarifying question of the one-time $125,000 request.
Well, and just so you know, Mark, in the past, you're correct, but in the past, we've always also been open to looking at the other commissioners and saying, this person is pertinent to the discussion we're having. Do you mind if we allow them to speak? The other commissioners will say, yes, I have no issue, or this might not be an appropriate time, and then we move on. But we have allowed for that at discretion.
Yeah, and I would prefer it that way, because I think it does add some efficiency to this process.
Usually it makes it easier to answer a question or resolve an issue, and not
like
have
now.
to address it. Yeah. So, Jay, if you wouldn't mind letting us know for the 0.09 sales and use tax fund, is that a one-time payment?
That is a one-time payment, yes. So, and just to clarify on that, we received some state money to undertake a project to extend the sewer on behalf of the port. And then not only have our costs gone up, but we had to spend some money on design. And so now we're having to spend even more of our money to backfill for the project. And in the end, this is a project that benefits the port pretty greatly. And we're just trying to, if we can, fill this kind of funding gap that we've been given through circumstances.
Right, and it's not only, I mean, it benefits the port, but it benefits the county as well.
And we were all in favor of it, Jay, just so you know.
Yep.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, thanks, Jay, for coming back on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, sorry. I was really lucky that the timing worked out. They're calling me for my MRI. So.
Oh, okay. Well, have fun.
Oh, of course. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thanks.
Thanks, you too.
I've got another one coming up this week too.
We've also got a project out there that's been a goal of ours. We have a mobile home park out there that we'd like to get connected to that. So having that extend out there would definitely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right.
Do we
That's
have
all I
anything-
had for my administrator updates.
Okay, do we have anything for Mark?
No, Madam Chair, if we don't, I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, we're adjourned. I'll see everybody tomorrow.